So Quinn Ewers had some things to say to Steve Wiltfong, and he's the #1 quarterback in 2022, and Ohio State is coming on. We got to talk about it after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You got to help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. So it's college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about the #1 quarterback in the class of 2022. That would be Quinn Ewers out of South Lake Carroll. Took the Dragons to a 13-1 season last year, threw for over 4,000 yards, completed 72% of his passes. And yeah, his recruiting is picking up in a tremendously big way. And we're all starting to pay attention because he's getting comps to Trevor Lawrence, right? Trevor Lawrence was ridiculously awesome at Cartersville, Georgia, coming out of there. And there was great talk about whether or not he or Justin Fields should be the #1 player in the entire class, let alone quarterback. And you can see both of those dudes have wins. One of those guys has been a Heisman finalist. One of those guys has won national championships. One of those guys probably going to win the Heisman 2020 when we get football, if we get football, how we get football, whether or not that goes this July. But I want to talk about recruiting because we're talking about the #1 quarterback in the class, right? We all care about who the #1 quarterback in the class is, regardless of where he goes to school. It was Spencer Rattler in 2019, right? In 2020, we were talking about Bryce Young and DJ Uiagalelei. Now we were talking about Caleb Williams, who's committed to Oklahoma. And now we're talking about Quinn Ewers, who is entertaining Ohio State. And Oklahoma and Auburn are the first ones coming out of his mouth. But he's been getting offers from 30-plus schools. And there are a couple of places that already are pretty well secure, one of those being like LSU. But Ohio State is really making a run at the Texas recruit. And he told Steve Wiltfong he talks to them the most. But he has had a very long relationship with Lincoln Riley. Now, the chances of any school landing #1 quarterbacks in back-to-back classes is very rare. And it's incredibly difficult to do. Because the same reason that you land that #1 quarterback is the reason why you wouldn't land the next one in the pipeline. And you usually go on year, off year, on year, off year. Because what we know is 5-star quarterbacks don't usually want to follow 5-star quarterbacks in consecutive classes because the likelihood of you not playing goes through the roof. And everybody wants to play and nobody wants to not play, right? Double negative. Stop with that, RJ. My goodness. But with Ewers, I'm particularly interested because we're still early in his recruiting. And while you might have had Oklahoma as the front runner, especially if they lost Caleb Williams, they did not. Caleb Williams in the boat. And maybe you're going to entertain Texas because he's from there and Mike Yurcich is really making a play. Ohio State has a really great argument, right? Though Kyle McCord is there, and so is CJ Stroud, and so is your man's Jack. So it's going to be difficult, right? It's going to be hard. And I don't really know that he's going to look at any depth chart right now and make a decision, but depth charts figure into the decision, right? We all know that. We understand it and we get it. It's one of the reasons why I think Ohio State is in front here. However, he had one visit scheduled during the spring, and it wasn't to Ohio State, and it wasn't to Oklahoma, and it wasn't to Texas. It was to Chad Morris's Auburn, where they just picked up Demetrius Davis. And Demetrius Davis is probably one of the most underrated recruits in this entire class. Coming out of North Shore. Guy was in the same backfield as Zach Evans for years, and makes them tremendously good, right? He's just not the pocket passer that many would want him to be, but he fits right into what Chad Morris wants to do, which is have an athletic quarterback where he can run basketball on grass, but also push the ball down the field, a la Taj Boyd, a la Deshaun Watson, and even in the recruiting of Kelly Bryant, right? We know what kind of quarterbacks can come out of Auburn as well. Cam Newton, probably going to be the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots because I don't think that Bill Belichick makes a move to try to make him the backup to Jared friggin' Stidham. Even so, Jared friggin' Stidham played his football at Auburn and Baylor, but Auburn is where we remember him from the most. And then you're talking about Kalen Newton. And then you're talking about Bo Nix, who was one of the best quarterbacks in the 2019 class. And on it goes, right? So Gus Malzahn knows what to do with good quarterbacks, even as Joey Gatewood was allowed to transfer away. I don't even really think that Joey Gatewood was really a threat to be that outstanding, even at Kentucky. We'll wait and see, right? Don't want to pass judgment until he gets an opportunity at Kentucky, but there was a reason why it wasn't working out at Auburn. But back to Quinn Ewers. Some of the things that he said are really enlightening, and I want to talk about a couple of those if I can ever get around my microphone because, well, I structured it this way, so I'm the idiot. He said the main thing about Ohio State is just their success and ability to go to the college football playoff every year. The main thing I look for when I'm talking to a coach or looking at a university is development of past quarterbacks, for which Oklahoma says hello, while Ohio State would be like, yo, man, Dwayne Haskins, hello. Got a point. And Justin Fields, also, hello. So past quarterbacks and who was successful as they were in years past. I've known those guys for a while. I went up there in 8th grade. Family owns a cabin in the Columbus area. That's when they offered me, and ever since, I've kept a good relationship, and it's been fun talking to those guys. Coach Dennis is really fun to talk to. He's younger, easier to connect with, and Coach Day as well. Those are really cool dudes. But with Lincoln Riley, he says, Coach Lincoln is awesome. I've been up to Oklahoma once or twice, and I loved it up there. It's an awesome experience. We got to talk to players and ask them questions, and they had nothing but great things to say about the program. It's an awesome facility they have up there, and Coach Lincoln obviously knows what he's doing at the quarterback position. He's put so many guys in the league already. He's smart enough. He knows what to do and how to do it. On the Caleb Williams thing, he said, I haven't really thought too much about it, which is the right thing to say, even if you are thinking about it. He had some things to say about Auburn and, of course, Texas, which is really where I think you're going to come down to probably at Ohio State, Texas kind of a duel. Maybe Oklahoma sneaks in there. Again, just winning to Caleb Williams kind of makes that more difficult. Though if anybody could do it, be Lincoln Riley. I just wouldn't bet on it. Just level-headed about that. But he's grown up with the Longhorns. His whole family is full of Longhorns. And he thinks it'd be pretty cool to be Longhorns. So with family that, is in New Braunfels, which is outside of Austin, for those of you unfamiliar with the area, it makes more sense, right? Coming from South Lake Carroll? Hello? It's interesting. He's intrigued by Michigan, but I still think that Ohio State, Auburn, and Texas are going to be the schools you hear the most as we get closer and closer to his announcement day. But Oklahoma's always been there. Oklahoma was right there with Bryce Young. And everybody that Lincoln Riley decides to go get, they give it a thought. So we'll see how this ends up going for him. I'm going to talk with my buddy Colin about this a little bit later, who keeps a very keen eye on what's going on down at Texas as he's coming out of Flower Mound, and he's really excited about what Quinn Ewers is and who he could be. But I want to highlight that he went against some really great defensive fronts in Texas's largest classification last year. Looked great against blitz, looked really good at looking off safeties, which is something that you usually have to learn in college, let alone when you get there. But like second, third year guys are still learning to look off safeties to basically get their receivers more time and get them open. And he was going against some five-star dudes like Shamar Turner, right? And some great players like Byron Murphy II. So he knows how to play quarterback. And in Ryan Day's scheme, or in Mike Yurcich's scheme, we know that he'd be able to push the ball down the field. He's going to be competing with a lot of guys at Oklahoma. If he chose there, it would be Spencer Rattler, then it would be Chandler Morris, then it would be Caleb Williams. You could flip those two if you want. Caleb Williams might even be better than Spencer Rattler. We'll see. And then you talk about your 2022 guys, right? If Tanner Mordecai's still there, though I think Tanner Mordecai at that point would graduate, probably transfer. It's just within the cards. All right, that is it for me. Deuces.